More crucially, during a roller coaster argument, the boy yelled, "I'll kill you." Suddenly, a loud crash came from upstairs, as if someone fell. The old man froze, staring at him. The boy rushed panic-stricken downstairs, fleeing like a rabbit. The old man sensed trouble and quickly called the police. Upon arrival, police found a dagger in the victim's chest, with death occurring around midnight. All evidence thus pointed to the boy, though no, Dre still felt some sympathy. Meanwhile, Forth added, according to the little boy's statement, he was watching a movie at the cinema at the time, but he couldn't recall the plot or actors' names, and worse, no one saw him enter or leave the cinema. Clearly, the little boy was just spinning tales to clear his name. However, before Forth could finish, Tent jumped in. Besides the evidence, a woman living opposite the boy's house testified in court, claiming she saw him stab the victim in the chest at 12:10. This matched perfectly with the old man's testimony. All the evidence pointed to the boy's guilt, but then it suddenly popped up with a question. He asked, since a streetcar passed by at the time, how could that woman see the whole incident? The individual identified as number 10 responded by saying that at that time there were no passengers on the streetcar, so the lighting inside the compartment was dim. However, the lawyer proved, in dim light, one can clearly see across through streetcar windows. So, you don't believe a child, but trust a woman? He replied helplessly, retreating back to his seat. Next up was no, 5. No one knew she'd now abstain after originally backing the boy's guilt. Then 6 chimed in, saying she didn't even know why she thought the boy was guilty from the start. Could it be the witness testimony in court? The evidence suggested that the boy had an argument with his father that night, and that could be his motive for murder. But 8 countered, saying the witness only heard the victim slap the boy twice but didn't really know what happened. Afterwards, she saw the boy rush out. What does it prove? Records show had suffered violence since childhood. He wouldn't kill his father over 2 slaps. Clearly, the motive stated by 6 was baseless. 7th believed the boy's guilt stemmed from his past. At 10, this boy faced juvenile court for stone throwing at a teacher. At 15, he was sent to reform school for car theft. Thus, had several police encounters for fighting. It's not surprising if this troubled kid killed his dad impulsively. But the 8th argue that the boy's rebellious behavior stemmed from being his father's little experiment of violence since age 5. At this point, after 8th said that, everyone else became curious. Based on the journalist's testament, the boy was indeed guilty, but what puzzled 8th was that the 2 witnesses sounded too confident. Everyone makes mistakes. How could they be so sure the person they saw was the little boy? Yet, no one could back that up. Meanwhile, 3rd questioned again. If 8th deemed the boy innocent, what explains the knife in the victim's chest? The little boy had already admitted that the knife was the one he bought that night. But before 8th could retort, 4th chimed in, saying according to police investigations, the boy bought the knife at the convenience store after being hit by the victim. The owner confirmed it was the only one in her shop. The owner testified in court, confirming the murder weapon was the one the boy bought from her shop. Doesn't that prove his guilt? Even more unusually, individual number 4 further stated that, based on the little boy's testimony, he discovered the victim had already died at home after returning from the cinema that night. He said he lost the knife en route to the cinema and never saw it again. Yet no one could prove he went. Because the little boy had been lying from the start, I can hardly believe any of this. The shopkeeper didn't give the boy the knife either. Are we really supposed to accept this wild coincidence? I'm just saying coincidence is possible, but I'm also saying it's not probable. But just then, 18th stood up and pulled a knife that looked exactly like the weapon. The crowd gasped, their faces reflecting sheer horror. Seeing their doubts, 8th quickly said she bought it for $6 at the street pawn shop, proving the murder knife may not be the boy's. Subtitle: someone might have just used a similar knife. When faced with no 8's doubts, others found the chance too small. Still believed the boy guilty, with tensions rising. 10 fumed she had 3 more repair shops to visit. This was a waste of time. How ironic. As the case seemed stuck in a rut, 8 suggested an anonymous vote. She abstained, saying if 11 votes still favored guilt, she'd agree. Then, she urged the judge for a guilty verdict. Unexpectedly, the new round of voting had only 10 votes for guilty, and when the result was announced, third immediately lashed out, a 5th for being wishy-washy. At that moment, 9th, who hadn't said anything so far, suddenly spoke up. Turns out, she was the one who changed her mind. She believed 11's comments were purely incriminating, and everyone needed to get out of this confusion. With everyone bickering away, Ferris suggested they all take a breather before diving back into the discussion. However, during the break, 8th put together the witness testimonies and came to a new conclusion. She concluded the testimonies of 2 witnesses reached a new conclusion. One had heard the boy shout upstairs, "I'm gonna kill you." However, another female witness testified seeing the incident through the streetcar window, meaning it passed beneath his house during the crime. The noise from the streetcar would drown out other sound, leading to the conclusion that the old man could not possibly have heard anything from upstairs. The only explanation was that the old man had lied in court, but what could be his reason for that? After hearing 8's deduction, the furious third retorted that everyone in the world knew the boy was guilty. He couldn't understand what 8th was insisting on.